Wow, this is amazing. Oh, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is phenomenal. Check it out. It's the first time in years that American astronauts have gone into space on an American rocket ship leaving from American soil. And here's the final countdown. There they go. Wow. So Rob Behnken and Doug Hurley lifted off at 3:22 on Saturday, and they have a 19-hour journey until they arrive at the International Space Station. You know, this is pretty big news. And I wonder, what's next? Could we go to the moon? You know, I hear Elon Musk has some pretty big ideas. Maybe even Mars. Man, this has got my imagination fired up. I hope it has yours too, because I just got a great big idea. So if you're wondering, what's the big idea? Today, we are going to be creating some rocket ships. We'll learn how to draw the frame, how to add thrusters, even the payload system, windows, and details like the blasting flames from below. So, if you're ready, let's gather some supplies. You're going to need some white paper for this project, probably a pencil and an eraser, as well as some markers. And if you have some crayons, those would be very handy, especially if you have a crayon without a wrapper. You could use the side of a black crayon, a purple crayon, and a blue crayon to rub on its side and create an outer space texture for the sky. So, let's get started. All right, now we're ready to work on creating our rockets. We've got our imaginations fired up, and I'm going to start by making a triangle with 1, 2, 3 dots. This is going to be the base for the frame or the structure of our rocket. Now, oftentimes rockets are more cylinder, but this one's going to be a little bit more rounded. So I'm going to connect the space in between these dots with a curve. Now, my rocket is going to have a pointed cone nose because that's going to help it to be more aerodynamic for traveling through the air and through space. So I'm going to make that pointed part here at the very end, and I'm going to draw that nose on my rocket by making a curve here. At the other end, I'm going to make a shape that's kind of like a smile, and I might even make a little line down on each side. This is my basic rocket shape, but here's where it gets fun. You can add as many fins, as many windows, as fancy a paint job as you would like to your rocket. If you really want to think about the aerodynamics, you could think about how this vehicle is going to be moving through the air. And you may want to make some shapes for the fins that are like rhombus or parallelograms. And we've got now a shape here that's the basic shape for our rocket. For the payload, the area where the people are going to be, that's going to be up here near the nose. I'm going to put a window that's large, and I'm going to make a smaller window inside it, and I'm going to secure it with some dots that are going to represent the bolts holding it together. You can add all sorts of other details to your rocket, but of course we want to make sure we show that our rocket is going to be blasting it off. So I'm going to put some flames down by making some zigzag lines that are going to come from the bottom of my rocket out, and I'm going to make some larger ones that are going to spread out and then come back close together. And one more time, you'll notice this is going right off my page because this rocket will have taken off from planet Earth and it's heading somewhere out in space. Ooh, maybe I'll let a circle stencil be the perfect thing to make a planet in the distance. All right, here's my circle stencil, and I may decide I want to put my circle stencil over here on the side, maybe even coming off the page a little bit. This is going to represent the moon. Ooh, or maybe we need to think further. Maybe we need to think about Mars. That would be pretty cool. And then I could even use a smaller stencil or freehand a shape to create another planet that could be off into the distance. It just depends on how realistic you want your design to look. My other planet here is going to have some rings on it. So to make it look like the rings are going behind my planet, I'm going to draw a shape that's going to be like a backwards letter C all the way around. And I'm going to do that same thing again, and that's going to represent the rings going around that planet. So now I've got a planet, 2 planets, my rocket ship. It is blasting through space, and I do believe this rocket ship needs a name. I think I'm going to call this one the Wildcat. So I'm going to put the Wildcat. All right, now we're ready to add our colors. So when I do my rocket flames blasting off here, I'm going to put the brightest yellowish color here. I'll add some extra colors in here of the dark orange on top, just to add interest. And then some red. Now let's make this one Mars. We know that's the red planet. I'm going to make, starting with the lightest color, I'm going to make some lines on this that are going to be wavy lines across the planet. I'm not worried about the little gaps of color in here because I'm going to fill in these gaps with some colors with my crayons. Did you know that Mars is 140 million miles from Earth? Now that would be a long trip to visit family who lived on Mars. All right, now we've got Mars, we've got our flames. I think we ought to work on our rocket ship now. A great tip is to go around the outside edge of a space you want to color in, so that way you can keep your marks well under control. I'll color the nose the same color. Repeating your colors gives your art piece a sense of unity. Oh, almost missed a fin. All right, it's looking good. Now for the details. Let's add our details to our rocket. What would you name your rocket? All right, a trick that we're going to use on this is using a crayon without a wrapper to do this part of outer space around the rocket ship. An old broken crayon will work perfectly for this because we don't want a very large one because we're not going to be using the crayon on its tip. We're going to be using the crayon on its side. So when we do this rocket ship in the background area, we want to use the side of the crayon to go and press firmly along next to our rocket ship. All right, do the same thing on the other side as well. The basic part done there, then you can add other colors. Some blues. Another interesting idea would be to use a watercolor resist. You could draw your stars with white crayon or yellow crayon, and then you could paint over them with the black paint. There you have it. Stars. We almost forgot the stars. Boys and girls, I hope you've enjoyed creating this rocket ship today. As you blast off into the summer, I hope that you keep your imagination fired up all summer long. I can't wait to create with you again next time. Until then, much creativity always.